I know the smell of a hallway I have never walked through. I know which step on a staircase I have never climbed makes a particular sound, not a creak, more of a low groan, second from the top, on the left side where the wood has shifted. I know the view from a window in a house I have never entered, in a city I had never visited, until I went to verify it. I want to be precise about what I'm describing, because I think most people have a version of this that they dismiss too quickly. This isn't déjà vu. Déjà vu is a feeling, a flicker of familiarity with no content, gone in a few seconds, forgotten by the time you've finished noticing it. This is different. This has detail, specific, consistent, retrievable detail, the kind of detail you'd only have if you had actually been somewhere, multiple times, for long enough to know it the way you know your own childhood home. Except I haven't been there. I checked. And what I found is the reason I haven't been able to explain this away for the last 7 weeks. Let me describe the house, because the specificity is the point. It's a narrow house, 3 stories, the kind you find in older industrial cities, built close to its neighbors on either side. The front door opens directly into a hallway, no entryway, no transitional space. You step in, and you are already inside. The hallway has dark wood floors that creak in a specific pattern, loudest near the door, quieter as you move toward the stairs, loud again on the 3rd step from the bottom, for reasons I have never understood and have always known. The staircase turns once at a small landing where there is a window facing the street. I know what is visible through that window. Not generically, not a street, not some houses. Specifically, a brick building across the road with a faded sign, the kind of sign that used to advertise a business that no longer exists. The paint so worn you can only make out fragments of letters. I know there is a tree to the left, close enough to the window that in autumn its leaves brush the glass. I know that the 2nd-story bedroom, the one at the front, overlooking the street, has a window seat built into the wall, and that the cushion on the window seat is a faded blue, and that there is a specific stain on the underside of the cushion that you would only know about if you had turned it over. I knew about the stain on the underside of the cushion before I had ever, to my knowledge, seen the house. This memory has been with me for as long as I can recall having memories. Not as a story I was told. No one in my family has ever described a house like this to me. Not as a dream. It doesn't have the discontinuity, the strangeness, the loose logic of dreams. It has the texture of lived experience, the specific, mundane, unremarkable detail that only accumulates through repetition, through actually living somewhere, through the boring, daily, unconscious accumulation of knowing a place. For most of my life, I treated it the way you'd treat any persistent oddity of memory filed under "the brain does strange things," considered briefly, set aside, returned to occasionally with mild curiosity and never with any urgency. 7 weeks ago, I decided to find out if the house existed. Not because I suddenly believed it would, because I was tired of not knowing, and because the not knowing had started, very quietly, to feel less like curiosity and more like something I had been avoiding. I started with what I knew about the city, even though I had no memory of how I knew it was a city at all, just a sense, underneath the house, of a particular kind of urban density. Older buildings, a specific climate, the kind that gets genuinely cold, with real winters, not the mild version some parts of the country get. I narrowed it down using details that seemed architectural: the row house structure, the narrow lot, the brick building across the street with the faded sign. This kind of construction is regional. It's common in certain older industrial cities and rare almost everywhere else. I picked the 3 most likely candidates and started looking at street view images of older residential blocks. This took longer than I expected. Hours, across several nights, scrolling through block after block of houses that were close but not right narrow, old, brick-fronted, but missing some detail that I knew, with total certainty, should be there. On the 4th night, on the 2nd city, on a street I had selected almost at random because the satellite image showed a particular density of trees, I found a brick building with a faded sign. I could not read what the sign had said, but the shape of the lettering, the worn, partial pattern of paint that I had described to myself 100 times without ever having a name for the business it advertised, matched. I looked at the house across the street from that building. Narrow, 3 stories, a tree close enough to a 2nd-story window that its branches would reach the glass in autumn. I sat in front of my laptop for a long time before I did anything else. I want to describe what it felt like because I think the feeling is part of the evidence. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't the satisfaction of solving something. It was the specific, bottom-dropping sensation of watching something you assumed was internal, a private oddity, a quirk of your own mind, something that existed only inside the boundary of your own skull, turn out to have a location, a street address, a latitude and longitude. The memory stopped being mine in that moment. It became a place that existed, independent of me, whether I had ever been there or not. I found a real estate listing for the house. It had sold 11 months earlier empty, in need of renovation, photographed by an agent who walked through it with a camera and uploaded the images for anyone to see. I made myself a cup of coffee before I opened the listing. I don't know why. Some instinct that I should be sitting down properly with something to hold before I looked. The first photograph was the hallway. Dark wood floors, the front door opening directly into the hall. No entryway, no transitional space. The second photograph was the staircase. Turning once at a landing with a window facing the street. I scrolled to the bedroom at the front of the house. There was a window seat built into the wall. The cushion was gone. The house had been emptied for sale, stripped down to bare rooms and bare floors, the way houses are presented to buyers who need to imagine their own life into the space rather than someone else's. So I couldn't verify the stain on the underside of the cushion. I want to be honest about that. There are limits to what 7-month-old real estate photography can confirm, but I could verify almost everything else. The creak pattern in the floor, I couldn't hear it through photographs, obviously, but I could see the specific wear pattern in the wood, darker near the door, lighter toward the stairs, darker again on the third step from the bottom, exactly where decades of feet would have worn the finish if the board there had always made a sound when stepped on. The view from the landing window, the brick building, the faded sign, visible in one of the exterior shots taken from the street. The tree outside the second-story window present in the listing, described in the agent's notes as mature maple close to house, may require trimming to prevent contact with upper-story windows. Contact with upper-story windows. In autumn, when the leaves brush the glass. I went through every photograph in the listing, 11 images, and I found nothing that contradicted my memory. I found 17 separate details that confirmed it. I called the real estate agent. I told her I was interested in the house's history, who had lived there before, how long the previous owners had occupied it, whether there were any records of the property going back further than recent memory. She was helpful in the particular way that real estate agents are helpful when they think you might be a buyer. She told me the house had been owned by the same family for 61 years. A woman had lived there alone for the last decades of her life, after her husband died and her children moved away. She had passed away the previous year. In the upstairs bedroom, the one at the front, with the window seat, and the house had been sold by her estate. I asked when she was born. The agent didn't know offhand, but offered to check the public records. The woman who lived in that house, who slept in that bedroom, who must have turned over that cushion at some point and discovered or caused whatever stain I know to exist, on its underside, was born in the same city, in the same decade as the people who would, several generations later, make up the early branches of my own family. I don't know if she was related to me. I have not been able to find a documented connection. But I know the house. I know it the way you know a place you have lived in. I know details that only exist in photographs taken after she died, that I described to myself before I had any way of knowing they would be confirmed. I don't have an explanation. I want to be honest about that, because I think the honest version of this story is more disturbing than a version with a tidy answer. I don't know if memories can be inherited. I don't know if there's a genetic or epigenetic mechanism that could carry forward something as specific as the layout of a house, the wear pattern of a staircase, the existence of a stain on the underside of a cushion that I have never seen with my own eyes and have somehow always known about. I don't know if this is memory at all, in any sense that the word usually means. What I know is that the house exists. What I know is that a woman lived and died in it who shared a city, a decade, and possibly a bloodline with my family. What I know is that I described details about her home, specific, verifiable, internally consistent details, before I had any way of confirming them, and that every single one of those details turned out to be correct. I've been thinking about what it means to carry something you didn't choose to carry. A memory that isn't a story someone told you, isn't a dream you misremembered, isn't a coincidence you're forcing into a shape. A memory that is simply there, installed, complete, waiting for you to verify it, the way you'd verify a fact you already half believed. I keep returning to one detail I haven't mentioned yet. In the memory, in the version of the house that has been with me for as long as I can remember, there is a moment near the end that I have always filed under the strange logic of memory. A moment of looking out the window seat, at the tree, at the street, at the brick building, with the faded sign, and feeling, in that memory, something I have never been able to name until I started writing this script. Tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that comes at the very end of something. I don't know whose memory I'm carrying. I don't know if she knew in that last year, in that upstairs bedroom, that some piece of her small, particular knowledge of her own home, the creak in the stairs, the stain on the cushion, the tree against the glass, was going to end up somewhere else. In someone she never met. In someone who hadn't been born yet.